How's everybody doing? My name is Bukata Hayes. I'm with the Greater Mankato Diversity Council. We're excited to talk to you today about at your career navigator and about um, pursuing any jobs you want to pursue and not being limited by what society says about who we are, but to continue to pursue jobs that we want to pursue, that we have passion and love and excitement to do.
Hi, my name is Kuma Takamura. I'm Education Director for Diversity Council. And a little bit about myself. I started as a biologist and then switched the area to electrical engineering. And then personally, I used to dance ballet. I think it was probably you might think it's very unusual for guys to dance ballet, but if you like dancing, that's not an issue to me. So I danced ballet, but I'm a engineer and I'm a scientist.
Once again, my name is Bukata Hayes, and I'm with the Diversity Council as well. And so a little bit about me is that my college degree that I got was in exercise physiology. So it's in the medical health field. But the work I do today is around diversity and inclusion, all of us being part of our communities, being at the table. And then one of my loves about me is basketball. And so basketball and sports also foster team and community and this working together to accomplish our goals.
Okay, let's think about, you are, I don't know, 8th grade, 9th grade right now. And let's think about 10 years from now. Do you think about jobs first? Or do you think about your family first? It depends, but both are important. But today I want you to think about the jobs because our today's topic is about your future jobs. Why jobs is important? Let's look at this map. This is a poverty status map of Minnesota in counties. So if you look at, for instance, when we are in Brewers County right now, Diversity Council is, we are talking about 17 to 20% poverty rate, meaning 1 out of 5 people are poor. And that's not a good, right? Because we want to be rich, all of us to be in at least middle class and try to make good money out of it. But sometimes like 1 out of 5 people are poor. So why is that? Many things are related to your job. If you have a good job, you earn reasonable amount of money. So this chart shows your education level. For instance, if you only high school diploma, or you go to 2-year college, 4-year college, or even PhD or something like that. If you have a higher education level, your unemployment rate is much lower. And also, your income or earnings is much better if your education gets higher. So what type of education you get and what kind of job you get, that's important how you will do in your future.
And so what things influences the jobs that we might take? And so if we take a look at society and think about what things influence the jobs we have, we know that gender, are you male or female, might impact the job that you take. We know race or ethnicity, right? Skin color might impact the jobs that you're able to think about or to have. We also know that immigration status also might impact what jobs you're able to have or you even can think about. We know varying abilities as well, depending on what sort of abilities I have, and that'll impact the job that I can take. Education, so Kuma just told you about how education might impact as well those jobs that you're able to take. Our health, in particular in this COVID-19 area time, the reason why Kuma and I are presenting virtually is because of COVID-19 and this emphasis around staying healthy, but we also know your health can impact your job choices or may influence it. And then of course, age, right? So how old you are, what jobs you're trying to do at what age would also impact and influence the jobs that you may be able to have. We also know and we understand that at the Diversity Council, we believe that we are all one people, that we are all equal. And so um, uh, regardless of the gender, regardless of the ethnicity, regardless of many other factors, we are all human beings and we are all equal. And we talk about how do we make sure that our systems and our structures, and then also our individual interactions, reinforce that we are all equal. And so, again, if we're all equal and you can choose any job you want, that's what we're telling you. And if so, there shouldn't be gender and racial differences in any of our jobs, but we understand that the reality is that there's a huge imbalance in terms of race and gender and other abilities, and that impact upon what job you may be able to do, you may be considered for, or you can choose.
So let's look at some of the examples. So let's look at this business world, company president and secretary. So 14% of the top executives are women. That means 86% are men. And if you look at secretaries, though, 96% of secretaries are women. So, and if you look at ethnicity, only 4% of Fortune 500 companies CEOs are non-white. So why women should be a secretary and man should be a CEO? Or why white people has to be CEO? That's the question we like to ask.
We also know that there's job-related gender or racial biases as well. And one of the ways that we see that is in the medical field, and in particular with nurses and doctors. There's long been societal sort of thoughts about who should be a doctor and who should be a nurse. And we do see that play out in who are and who do the work of being nurses and doctors. And so only 9% of nurses are men, meaning 91% are women. And Kuma and I have done diversity trainings in classrooms, nursing classrooms, and we see this ratio play out in terms of men and women being in a nursing class. And we also understand the narratives that go along with some men who choose to be nurses. So society has these sort of ideas about what jobs we should take, and that does influence the jobs we take. You can see with doctors, 60% right now are men and only 40% are women. We have a little bit better gender balance there, but when it comes to nurses, you don't see that. And again, I think for us, we want to acknowledge that there are some societal thoughts and notions that impact who becomes a nurse and who becomes a doctor. And you can see, if we take just a look at nurses, the breakdown racially or ethnically around who that is. You can see 75.4% white, and you can see the varying degrees of Black or Hispanic, Asian, indigenous, or two or more races. And then if we look at doctors, right now only 6% of doctors are African American, Hispanic or Latino, or indigenous. Only 6%. And so again, it still means that there's this racial and ethnic imbalance in those jobs around doctors and nurses that we have to speak to those societal sort of notions that play into that. And then thus our encouragement to you as those thinking about your future jobs, to think about those future jobs and not let those societal notions impact or influence you too much.
As part of my job, I'm an engineering and consultant to Japanese companies. I fly a lot. So these days, if you fly, of course, we start airplane took off and then takes off, and then usually pilot comes on to greet you. But only 3% of pilots are women. And these days, it's getting common. I occasionally hear women comes on to the intercom, and I think, wow, women's flying this airplane. But it shouldn't be like, it doesn't have to be like that. On the other hand, flight attendants, only 24% of flight attendants are men. If you look at passengers, it's 50-50. And we are 50-50 too, but only 1/4 of the flight attendants are men. So there's definitely gender inequality in airline pilot and flight attendant job. 10% pilot and 30% flight attendants are non-white. Again, gender and ethnic skewed percentage is in flight attendant and pilot world.
So we know that there's a gender and racial imbalance, and we just gave you a couple examples. I think if you think about, and we can think about other examples in which we know that there may be a gender or racial imbalance among the jobs that we have within our communities, and those are caused by gender and racial bias and stereotypes. And that is these notions about, these stories about, these ideas about what women can do for a job, what men should do for a job, what someone who may be a person of color or a Black person can do for a job, and what a white person can do for a job. And those stereotypes, those ideas impact what careers folks have gone into, and we just showed you some of that right there. And so we believe that stereotypes are sort of society's way, and we're all part of society, so we take part in that, in putting certain people in certain places. And so what we want to encourage is that we don't engage in those stereotypes, that we encourage each other to pursue whatever job that you want to pursue, whatever career that you want to pursue, and that we all play a part in making sure that folks pursue some of their passions, some of those things that excite them in terms of the job. We all are unique and different. And that uniqueness allows us to bring many sort of perspectives and insights into the world. And we believe that we would bring all of those insights and perspectives into our future jobs too. Thus our encouragement to not let those societal roles, those stereotypes determine your path or your career, but that you work to determine your path and your career based on your passions and what you're excited about. And so we don't want to put folks in a categories or to stereotype them. We want them to be able to pursue the job that they want to pursue regardless of stereotypes.
So we have seen, several examples of the professional world, but we have been going into the classrooms of 8th graders, 9th graders last 10 years and gathering some data, what students are thinking about their future jobs. So, as we have been talking about, boys and girls or gender, male, female should be equal, but among the students, the differences are striking. For instance, number one choice by boys are engineer, girls, doctors. Number two, athlete for boys and nurses for girls. Number three, mechanics for boys, naturalist for girls. Number four, doctors. Here, doctors as only one appears in the both genders. And vet is the number 4 choice among girls. And number 5, boys are military and girls are artists. So it's very, very striking difference among the students, current students, even though we understand boys and girls should be equal. So one of the reasons I asked why girls are not going to engineering, and some said, well, girls are not good at math. Is that true? I've been asking 9th graders, Southern Minnesota, and then we got this chart, and you can see boys and girls, both 6% of them said they like math. So math is not the reason girls are not going to engineering. There must be something else. We have been talking about this gender stereotype. Somehow engineering is not considered as girls' job. And I don't think that should be that way.
And then if we take a look at, this was at Minnesota State University, Mankato, MSU, right here in Mankato, and the gender ratio and some of the jobs that you see below there. So auto and manufacturing, engineering tech, dental education, elementary and early childhood, electrical and computer engineering, integrated engineering, mechanical and civil engineering, and school of nursing. So the gender breakdown of all of those, and you can see a female being red, male being blue, and then unknown being green. You can see, or not reported being green, you can see that even within who's going into those majors, at least according to 2018's gender information from MSU, that we still see a gender imbalance in those careers, right? So you can see where the red is really high and the blue is pretty little, and you can see the other places where the blue is really high and the red is pretty little. Again, it speaks to sort of the gender imbalance in folks even pursuing a particular degree. And this was again in 2018 at MSU.
So MSU is a 4-year college. We can look at the South Central College, which is a 2-year college. And you can see the pink is the, they have many programs. And pink is the female and blue is a male. And you can see many of the program gender ratio is quite strikingly different. Only economics and intensive care paramedics are almost 50-50. Other programs are all male skewed or female skewed. If you look at the left side, medical assistant, office technology, that's a secretary, health unit coordinator, early childhood education, these are all quite heavily female job. On the other hand, male HVAC, cooling and heating systems, energy technical specialist, emergency medical service, agribusiness mechanics, agri-chemical applicator, mechatronics, carpentry. All these are male jobs. So as you see in even 2-year more vocationally oriented, job-oriented 2-year universities, still quite significant difference among choices, male choices and female choices about the job.
And there are many to who follows those such stereotypes, and this is what we're encouraging you to be. We're encouraging you that if you want to be an exception to those gender stereotypes and the way that those stereotypes might influence the jobs we take, we encourage you to be that exception. We encourage you to be like Mary Barra, who's the CEO of General Motors, who is one of the largest car companies in the world. And she started as a mechanic, right? And then she moved up to become the CEO. She's an exception. And there's many other exceptions as well. But we also know that with those exceptions, it still comes with some of the notions and narratives or stereotypes about who Mary Barra should have been. Should she have been a mechanic? If we looked at who's going to be mechanics and some of the stereotypes about being a mechanic, no, she probably shouldn't have been if she followed society's kind of stereotypes. Should she been a CEO? Kuma showed you earlier, only 4% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. She's one of those women who's leading a Fortune 500 company. And so there's many exceptions. And again, we're encouraging you to pursue the career that you want to be. And if you are one of those exceptions, that's what we want you to do. And so when you explore different job possibilities, we're asking, don't be influenced by stereotypes. So if you want to be a guy who's a nurse, you can be a guy who's a nurse. If you want to be a woman who's a welder or a mechanic, you can do that. If you want to be a woman and a CEO, again, we're showing you these ways in which you can be the exception. And so we want you, or a guy and a chef and a cook, right? Again, all of these sorts of stereotypes that weigh on us as we consider careers, we want to acknowledge those. We want to speak to those. We want to make all of us in this presentation aware of those. And then we want to say, if you want to be different, if you want to pursue a job that you are, that you believe is one of your passions or excites you, we want you to do that.
So one of the world's largest business consulting company called McKinsey and Company just completed a study about companies with the 25 top gender diverse company and least gender diverse company, and they compared the performance of these businesses. And they came up with that if you have many female management positions, your company do 50% better than the male-only type company. And the right side is the ethnicity, that you have a diverse ethnic group in the management, you can do actually 36% better than the white only or black only or very non-diverse group of companies. So this data shows quite that if you bring up different type of people, the thinking method or ideas are quite diverse and different. That makes company or organization much more flexible and successful. So diversity is an important part of how successful your organization can be. And last slide here, NASA just announced December last year, announced that they are going to go to the moon again in 2024. And they named 18 astronauts. They want to participate in this program. As you see here, there are 8 women, 8 men, and you can see white, black, Asian, and all mixed up. NASA understands diversity is a key to success to go to the moon. So again, it's important to have gender diversity and ethnic diversity for any organization to be successful.
And so we want you to remember that your gender or race or ethnicity, your varying ability, your immigration status, those sorts of things, we want you to make sure that you are pursuing a passion and that shouldn't solely influence the job that you want to have. And we also know that we as a country, as a society, believe so strongly in that there also are laws that prevent us from discriminating against folks based on these differences. And so we want to encourage you to pursue whatever career you want to pursue, understand those things that might influence you, and then we want you to, in essence, be some of those exceptions that we just showed you in terms of being in a field that may not have a whole bunch of folks who look like you, but that you really are passionate about. We want to encourage you to go and pursue that career.
So as we show, in any business or job environment, the more diverse the organization is, the more successful the organization becomes. So, we are all different, and there's an opportunity for every one of you. And the way we gather different people together, and that organization becomes better. So from our point of view, diversity is a necessity for any organization to become successful.
So we want to say thank you for being part of the Career Navigator. We want to thank you for listening to us today. And again, we want to encourage you to go out there, pursue your passions, pursue the careers that you want to pursue, and don't let gender or racial stereotypes stop you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.